In this video, we're going to be using Microsoft Project 2019, and we're going to demonstrate setting up the software parameters that Project will use when you're building your particular file. To do that, we start by going up here to the File option off the menu bar, and we go to Options. Now, you can see there's several different choices or categories that we're going to work with. We're going to take these one at a time. Now, one thing to note is that when you get your software, your default options may look different from what you see me starting with, but these are what I would like you to finish with as you work on project files for our course. So the default view, there's several different choices, and I believe Gantt with a timeline is the default view. Rather than use that one, I would like to stay with just the Gantt chart view. Also, I prefer this date format to the others because it compresses the amount of text that's going to be displayed on the screen, and geography is a very valuable commodity when working with the software. And again, you can choose any of these options when you build your own project files, but I like to keep things condensed. Also, you're going to put your name here. I have my name listed. And for your initials, it's going to take whatever you put up here as your default initials. I'm just going to change that to lowercase, just have my initials. So these are all the presets that I would like to see for the general setting. Moving to the display setting, rather than have two decimal values, and you're going to use a lot of cost information, this project is dealing with macro budget numbers. You really don't need to use pennies, and again, all that does is take up extra space. So I prefer to set the decimals to 0. You want to make sure that your $sign is placed in front of the number. Next up will be schedule, and we'll come over here, we'll click schedule. Now, if you want, and this is always advisable, go ahead and change that calendar options for all new projects. Then we're going to leave these default settings, and we're going to come down here, show assignment units as. This will be your resources, and you have two choices, percentage or decimal. I prefer the decimal. Again, it's space management. New task created, you have two choices there, manually or auto, and I feel it's very important to go into auto schedule because that's why we're using the software, and we want it to actually use your project technical parameters, which will be your predecessors and how all the tasks relate to each other to schedule their start and end date. So go ahead and set that to auto, if you will. This is a very involved discussion which we'll cover separately, but we're going to set it up as fixed duration, which essentially means when you make modifications to your resources, that the time frame that the software has established, the start and end dates, whatever duration of days that is, stays fixed while you change your resources, but that's a whole nother discussion. Now, these boxes here, we want to make sure that this one is deselected. We don't want to be splitting in progress tasks. When we're doing something, we want to update our manually schedule because we will be using some of those. And then we want tasks to always honor their constraint dates. Again, these are higher level topics that we haven't got to yet. When you're looking at tasks in the software, sometimes you'll see a duration with a question mark next to it, and that's our estimated duration, so we want to keep that there. New schedule tasks have estimated durations, so every time you type in a task, it's going to automatically populate with 1 day with a question mark to let you know you need to change it. And when things change, we want to stay on working days, because if we have weekends as non-working days, we want the software to acknowledge that. Oops, so we're going to keep that one checked. Long story short, you want to make sure that out of these 8 boxes, you have 5 of them checked. Okay, we're going to skip through proofing. That's just, you want to have spell check and all that. Just leave the defaults, that's fine. We're going to go to save. Now, some people prefer to check this box, auto save every X number of minutes, and I don't use that option, but it is very important that you do save your work at regular intervals. If you do this, then you want to make sure that you have this box checked, prompt before saving, because many times you'll be modifying something and you really don't want it to save as it is. So I discussed this in case you ever want to use it, and to remind people that you really do need to save your work when you have invested a lot of time into it. Now, this item, the quick access toolbar, is used to put highly used commands into this top bar. And what I've done here, these are the ones that I want you to finish with, but I've taken them out of this setting. So what we're going to look at here, if we go to this quick access toolbar, we just have the save icon, and that's this one. But if you want to have a save as, which I prefer to have up there, then you want to come here and click Save As, and then you want to add it. And now that's positioned there. Then you have the undo and redo buttons, which are very important. You want to make sure that those are showing. So if we go look for those, we have the undo button, and we're going to add that. And then we're going to look for the redo button, and we're going to add that one as well. Over here, this icon is what is going to show us a print preview, because you will be asked to print some things. Then the next thing, I'm going to ask you to create snapshots of your Gantt chart and all the bars here, and that is going to come by using this command, the copy picture. And that's a real handy tool that Project has that gives you a really easy snapshot of what you're working on. Great for communications. There's a timeline function, and if you want to add a task to that, that one's here. And the timeline is a separate view from the Gantt chart, but it's likely to be using that a lot. Task information, you'll be going many times looking for task information, and I'll just go ahead and throw that one in there too. And then a really important one is this one. It's called Zoom Entire Project. A lot of times your project gets so spread out that you really can't see the Gantt bars, but if you click this, it'll condense it all into one view. And similar to that is this scroll to task, which we're going to add. And if you have a lot of work out here in your Gantt bars, and this may not be familiar to you at this point, but you want to figure out where you are, you would just click your task and then click that scroll to task icon, and it would just automatically adjust your Gantt bar views to see what you need to see. So these are what I consider the important ones. Again, personal preferences, you can keep whatever you want here, but when you're all done, we're going to click OK, and that's really all we need to set our parameters.